it fits. It basically means a capital.
Truth is I'm missing you now. Truth is I'm missing you now. Truth be told I'm missing you, I'm missing you. Truth is I'm missing you now. Truth is I'm missing you now. Truth be told I'm missing you, I'm missing you. Shades of honesty.
See if I can see this now.
We are live. Hey.
Oh,
Hey,
you can
everyone.
see us too?
This is us.
Oh, we're here now.
Yeah.
It was a very short clip.
Yeah. Well.
Thought I had more time. Yeah, I was
you
thinking I had more time. You talking to them for a second. I forgot what I went there to get. I need a cable.
Oh, that's important. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our live stream. We, as you may notice, have some higher quality going on here. So I'm hoping that it works out really well. We'd love to know what you think about it. Let us know if there's any lagging or clipping. Because if this works, we would love to use it for future videos for ourselves, but also for other people to do some really interesting live stream concert style things. So now that Adrian is here, we're gonna go ahead and get things rolling. As you may know, today is a time for us to talk about our live stream album release. Are you gonna wear the headphones the whole time?
Doing a sound check, making sure we're good.
Okay. I mean, that's cool. You look like Mickey Mouse.
I think that's racist. I'm not entirely
What?
sure. I don't know. It just got like a little sprinkle of racism. I don't know.
I don't think I can be racist. I married a black man. I'm kidding, guys. I know that's not how it works. So anyway,
Oh yeah,
live stream album release. That was a really wonderful day 1 year ago that we
December
released
1st.
the Last City EP. We recorded the whole thing, got video of the whole thing
At Drive 35
at
Productions.
Drive 35 Productions, and it was a really glorious night.
Wait, no, we recorded the album at Drive 35, recorded the live release of that album, Cinderblock.
Thank you. Yes. All of it pretty great experiences. So we wanted to tell you guys more about that process today. We wanted to play a couple of songs for you. Some of them are from the album. I think we're doing one that is a brand new song. And we wanted to answer your questions. So if you have a question, feel free to leave it in the comments, either on YouTube or on Patreon. We have both pulled up. I think YouTube's probably going to be a little bit more responsive, so I would recommend that. If at any point, like I said, if you have trouble hearing us or seeing us or something, please let us know, and we'll hopefully be able to handle any technical difficulties. Before we get into the meat of it, I wanted to ask, how are you feeling today? How are you feeling about this thing being released?
This feels very Narwhals and Waterfalls.
For those of you who don't know, Narwhals and Waterfalls is a really great band for children that Adrian is part of.
Yep. Staying busy.
Recommend.
Tired.
Yeah.
As you hinted at, we recorded this a year ago, the live album, and worked on it here and there for the past 10 months now. But for the past few weeks, I've put in about 40 hours each week, testing a mix, bouncing it out, listening in the car, changing this, re-recording that, working on this.
It's been bananas.
Yeah, and I feel like we got it done Wednesday. Felt good about it, and I feel like I still haven't come back to normal. Just kind of still exhausted.
Do you wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat just thinking about whether or not you got
Oh, I know
everything
there's
right?
3 things exactly that still need to be changed.
Well, if you can find them, you get a prize
Yeah.
of our love. That's all the prizes we have right now.
Could have been changed.
For now.
Not needed.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just the nature of any project like this. You got to set a deadline. You got to get it done.
Yeah.
You'll lose yourself because you'll learn something new and want to go back and retroactively do that for every song. And it's just this cycle.
Yep.
The more you know.
I for one am very happy for it to be done because I am not an audio engineer. That is not my forte. But I've been asked to do a lot of listening tests for this, and it makes me feel bad because I cannot hear the differences.
Near the
between
end,
half
I
of the
sent
things.
four different mastering qualities of the same song, and she basically said, they all sound the same. That's when you know you're going a little bit too far into your head as a producer.
It's kind of embarrassing for me, honestly, because I want to be good at it, but I know where my strengths are, and I don't feel ready to put in the time to make that a part of things.
It's my hill to die on.
But now that the audio is done and we're getting ready for our release, that's where my job comes in to go ahead and put together.
Tyler, don't do what you're about to do. Okay.
To put together all of the videos. So we have a few released already. We're gonna take those down and re-release them with new audio. Any background noises you hear are probably gonna be Tyler. We're just gonna need to accept that for now.
Rejected.
So I'm gonna be editing together videos over the next couple of weeks. You can keep an eye out for those as they get released, and when all of them are together, they'll be on one big YouTube playlist. You can relive the whole experience for yourself in beautiful HD video. Oh God. Okay,
that's really
this
loud.
is too loud. We can't.
That's why you keep the headphones on.
Yeah. Sorry, honey.
Anyway, though.
Sponsored by Green Pet.
So you want to go ahead and play the first song? Dive in?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do the first one. You heard it at the beginning of this already from the album release itself. It's one of our older songs and one of our most played songs. Whether it's one of our most liked, I don't know. I just assume that because we like it a lot.
And it's called Missing You Now.
Why this unsettling peace? Did tears make a mark in the street? I don't want you to be okay without me. The truth is I wanted to, but I'm digressing back into love, 'cause you were supposed to get over me. Shades of honesty, staged apologies, our peace offerings that never could stop the war, wasted energy on our favorite enemies. The fate of everything rest in these unsaid words. I waited my life for this night, and now with a battle to fight, I'm pushing away, trying to lay down my sword. I'm biting my tongue as we come undone, kissing your lips instead of listening, and killing myself trying to even the score. Shades of honesty, staged apologies, our peace offerings that never could stop the war, wasted energy on our favorite enemies. The fate of everything rest in these unsaid words. Truth is I'm missing you now. Truth is I'm missing you now. Truth be told,
as it turns out, the camera does not pull power from the computer while it's plugged in. So that's good to know for later on.
Cool. What's next on the agenda?
On the agenda, if you want to talk a little bit more about that song, just a moment, I'm going to pull this out so I can monitor a little bit better what the battery levels are. Great.
That song.
The song that we just played, Missing You Now. Why it's important to you, why, okay, well, this is nice. Who the show is dedicated to and why, and the significance of that song with that.
All right, so a little bit over a year ago now, a friend of mine, Big Mike, passed away in a motorcycle accident. And the significance, bringing it full circle back to that song, she and I met in a band a while back, and that band fell apart. And so I met with another friend of hers named George Young, and we started writing some music together. And Big Mike was part of that first band and came over to play drums for the next band. And so after the band broke up, there was this 2 or 3 month period where I was pretty sure I couldn't write music on my own. I'd always written with my friend from the other band, and was doubting myself as an artist, as a writer in general, and had writer's block for a few months. And finally one day it broke. I woke up one morning, had the right combination of coffee and the right music on the way to work, and by the time I got to work, I had this idea going through my head. Originally, it's like something way more subdued. But I grabbed my guitar, and while I was watching kids, figured it out on guitar and started thinking about lyrics and all of that, and recorded a really rough demo. And later that day, invited Big Mike to come to church, and he was the first person to hear it and the first person to play drums on it. So it kind of goes way, way, way back to the very inception of the song. And as that band grew or whatever, obviously he was a part of that the whole time. So it was a very weird realization. And subsequently, since the show was 2 months after the accident, it was weighing heavily on me. And it only made sense that the show, and especially that song, be dedicated to good old Big Mike.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the quote that we're using for our next t-shirt / stickers / probably coffee mugs?
So, as there's 2 parts to this. There's the live album itself, and then there's also the Patreon, and those two join in. If you become a patron, you'll get to hear this entire live album now, or later today when I actually upload it, on Patreon, and then it comes out on November 16th in exactly 2 weeks on all the other things, your Spotify, your blah, blah, blah. There's a follow link in the description, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And so, a quote we're using, if you become a patron now at $10 or above, we'll get you a t-shirt with the quote, "I'm the best bad influence you've ever had" on it.
We have a winning design.
We have a winning design.
Here it is.
We can do all this stuff. We can just throw
Look
it
at
up there. I'm not sure I like that.
Yeah.
The design's great, but I just don't like her looking at me like that.
Well, she's looking at them.
And me through the screen over here.
Yeah.
Her eyes are just...
So I'm gonna play with the colors a little bit and put our logo on there somewhere, but that is that. Ooh.
Yes. So, yeah.
Hey.
A good deal of my time with Big Mike was these really erratic, sporadic, like, let's just try that. It wasn't one of those to plan for 2 weeks in advance. It was more like, we should go bowling. And you didn't ask when. You just said, all right, I'll meet you there. What time? It was just one of those kind of relationships. And so it was built on a lot of experiences. And some of those happening at 2 a.m. or whatever. And I remember in one of these weird, I think we found ourselves in some bar in downtown Columbia just at 2:30 in the morning. And I looked over and was like, man, you are a really bad influence. I have to be up at 6 in the morning. He's like, dude, I'm the best bad influence you've ever had. And it hit.
Yeah.
it sunk in. Because so far it's been true.
And it's ended up in another song that was not on this album, but we will be releasing that one soon. It's Everything I Need, formerly known as Stranger Danger, which we had to change that name because it's a good name, but not
essentially
on brand.
Most of my songs end up with whatever comes to my head first as I'm writing it, and there was a line in there about danger, and so it just Stranger Danger. It rhymes. It's catchy, and that title has not aged well. So. That's our t-shirt. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this lady off the screen. We'll also have, for people who are less than $10 signups, have stickers, or maybe a print. We'll figure it out. But something else with this quote on it, and I think it deserves a coffee mug because like holding a coffee mug with that on it says a lot about you. Song of the month now?
We are going to do a song of the month.
Here's another really weird.
Before we continue, I just want to remind people that if you have questions about any of this throughout this live stream, questions, comments,
memes,
whatever, feel free to drop them in the comments. We'll be answering questions at the end. It'll be really lame if we get to the end and you don't have any questions to answer. So thank you, please.
So. Back in 2017, as part of our Patreon, and we're rebooting this officially now, we chose a word from a foreign language. Unbelievable. Just no respect. We chose a word from a foreign language and would write and record a song based on that concept. We had all kinds of different words, German, Sanskrit, all kinds of different things. So we're rebooting that. And this month, we have the concept of friendship. It came up at church. Someone said, there's not really any friendship songs anymore. They used to have them, but now it's just, something very different. You don't have any just straight up songs about friendship. So I started writing about that, but didn't choose a word to go with it because I wasn't sure where the song was going to go yet or what that would mean. And when I finished the song or got it close to finish about a week ago, started doing some research and came across the word Erlebnis. I don't know. It's a German word.
I forgot it.
Erlebnis. Erlebnis. Which, the short version, you could call it a capital E experience. We obviously have experiences every day, but there's some of them that are like your capital E experiences, the most important ones, the ones that are so novel or important that they draw you in emotionally and you're more consciously involved in it. Like, just throw it on the screen like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to use this in the future more.
I paid a lot of money for this software, so I need for it to do its job.
So, I realized that that's kind of my benchmark for friendship. And it came out in the song, and it's kind of, as I reflect on life, that's been the truth of it all. It's the people there for these important experiences that mean a lot. It doesn't have to be a completely novel thing of driving across the country or something like that. It can just be a really, really good conversation. But in my brain, friendships are built around those moments, those experiences that leave an impact. And so, I'd like to debut. It's a little rough around the edges, but this is this month's song, Untitled, Besides Friendship. It's news stories that you've known all along. It's saying volumes without speaking at all. It's a riddle with no answers. It's a song that keeps changing keys. It's 5 minutes stretching into a night, being sick together, contagious and bright. Tomorrow's treasure is seen today with new eyes, and one less secret to hide. If it helps to call me a stranger,
hope that all we have is tonight. Here's a song for forgetting, but enjoying the ride. We live and we learn, die a little inside. Stir up the ashes to feel more alive. It's hiding each other. It's a joke at a funeral. It's a slate you'll never quite wipe clean. When you don't know where you're going, but you know stopping ain't an option. Here's a song for forgetting, but enjoying the ride. Here's a toast to the last place I left my heart. Raise a glass to the family I chose. I make my home when and where I can, till friends feel like strangers and I pack up again. Here's a toast to the last place I left my heart.
Yeah, that's the thing that happened. Yeah.
If you liked that, if you want to know more about the processes, hear those songs of the month as they come out before they're released to the public, or maybe not released. Some of these songs might end up needing to be written but not have anything else done with them. Feel free to find us on Patreon.
Go to jointhelastcity.com.
Go to jointhelastcity.com and you can sign up for our newsletter. You can sign up at Patreon. Find us on social media. We have free things. We have paid things. So options for everyone are available. I wanted to talk a little bit about the technical side of things before we get to our questions. And again, if you have a question about any of this or about The Last City or life in general, feel free to leave them in the comments for us.
Just throw something out there.
Anything at all. My status the other day on Facebook said that if you can ask a question that makes Adrian giggle, then you get a prize. And again, that prize might just be our love, but I think that's a pretty significant prize personally. So
I'm stingy with that, so that's pretty important.
my first question is, what was your favorite moment from the album release show? What's something really special that you remember? Or you can answer several things.
I don't know. The one I can think of. Essentially, when we got the recording back from them, it was just a hour and a half long clip of everything that happened. And so in going through and deciding which introductions and everything, there was a moment. Typically, before any show, I have a little beverage to ease things up. But since this was so important, I decided to wait a little bit. Depending on what you have, it can mess with the falsetto. You got to be careful with these things. Mm-hmm. And so, I wish it wasn't this blatant, but it is. Yeah. I arranged the order of the show so that all the songs that needed to be pre-whiskey were early in the set, so that when the time came, I could transition over into the good stuff. And so I did, but of course you don't want to stop the whole recording, so I asked Lucas, our bass player, to keep some Jim Beam close by, off camera, on that. But when the camera wasn't rolling, you could hear the audio of like, all right, whew, now that the falsetto's over, boom, break out the whiskey. And I'd like to say that the second half of that show is definitely a lot better afterwards.
It was fun. I meant to have something pulled up to sticking here at an opportune moment.
You mean the Cosby meme, the Cosby gif? You gonna share that again?
Is that Cosby?
That was Scott's comment on the.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, now I have to share it.
I don't think you do. I don't think I want to be associated with not so much anymore. See, why is this up?
Well, it's not on there right now.
Okay, but I mean.
But now that we've talked about it.
No, now that we talked about it, it should disappear into the ether.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
Got to read the comments.
I will.
You can blame Scott for ruining that one. That was his comment when you put it up the first time.
Scott, thank you a lot.
Yeah.
I'll put it up for the patrons.
Sure.
Patrons only. I get to see the
Cosby gif. Yeah.
Well, now
Yeah.
that special
So,
moment has been ruined.
Pivot.
Back to that was your favorite moment. From
That was
the
my
show?
favorite. Well, yeah.
Yeah, for me the whole thing was kind of a blur. I don't remember a ton of it, but I will say what I really enjoyed about the whole thing is that I've had a performance anxiety since I was a teenager. I've had trouble playing in public without like really bad shakes and having that affect my performance. And I've had a few really big performances go horribly wrong. And since we've started playing together more, it's happened less and less when it's the two of us or when it's just kind of a regular show. Can you go outside please?
Outside.
If you're gonna do this.
Hey.
Where's our bottle?
Gotta break the cycle. That's the whole
It's
point.
up there.
Outside. Outside.
So I was feeling a little bit nervous about this show. I was like, I'm gonna try to be as calm as possible. I'm gonna try to be in the moment. I'm gonna try to be peaceful about it. But there's always that little thought in the back of my head, like, what if the anxiety comes out real strong and then I'm not able to remember things or I'm not able to get through it, and I would try to like let that thought come out to play and then just say, okay, we're done with you now. And I think I felt it at the very beginning and then it just disappeared because it was such a special night. We had so many wonderful people playing with us, and we should probably mention them at some point. The music was so good. The atmosphere was so good. We had such a wonderful group of people watching us that I just was able to be completely in that moment. I was able to really enjoy the music and play really hard. I sweated so much. I had to go with the top button halfway through the performance, which if you know me, you know that the top button means we're really getting down to business here. So for me, that was a really special thing, was to like go into that show and feel completely at peace and feel like I knew what I was doing. Like, oh yeah, we're doing this, we can do this, we're professionals, and we're gonna make this happen. That was a pretty long answer and didn't really answer the question that I came up with, but I think it was pretty adequate. So my next question is mostly for you. What has the mixing process been like for this, as you've been trying to get together all of this stuff?
The short answer, because otherwise we could get lost in minutia, is that I think, as I was saying earlier, is you learn something and you try to implement it, and as you're doing all of that, your ears are getting better trained and you're catching more. And so it was this ongoing process of getting to a point where you get comfortable and think, all right, maybe I can actually pull this off. And then you think, but wait, what if I do this? What if I try this? You know, you Google tips for mixing live albums, and you see that you missed the top 5 things you should do, so you fix that. And going through and listening to the track soloed again, you think, oh, I could fix that. and it just happens over and over and over. So it's been an exercise in balancing out the need to finish something with the need to be proud of it. And I think that's why some of my favorite artists, my favorite comedians, all of them are famous for doing an hour set, scrapping it, and starting fresh. There's something about both knowing that you can improve yourself as an artist, but you can also have these stepping stones along the way. And so hopefully we're getting to a point where you can see the progress, but nothing gets held up so long that it just feels like we've been working on this for a year and what happened. But it still feels like it's progress, even if the progress is just my experience that I can take into the next project and the next one and so on.
Yeah.
So I guess philosophically it's been a growing process.
Yeah.
And humbling process. Hey, outside. Outside. Stop barking at black people. Unbelievable. She's definitely racist. Definitely racist.
I think she would have barked at white people if we had more white neighbors.
That's true.
Um,
Or maybe not. He was wearing a hat.
Well, you know, if he's got a hat, then it's all downhill.
Yep.
I had a question to myself that was a similar question, but it was more about the video. And I would say that, I'm really excited to show you guys all the videos. If you haven't seen any of them yet, we have a couple up on Facebook. I would highly recommend checking them out because the people over at Cinderblock did a really excellent job of capturing that whole thing on video. We got some really good angles, some really flattering faces, which I like. Violin face is really hard to manage. There's a lot going on in general, and then I tend to be very expressive with my face, unconsciously. So there is a lot of removing my ego in this process and realizing that even if I'm making a weird face, it's okay to leave that in the shot and not completely try to blank that out. Because it really was well shot. And I think the hardest part, which fortunately has already been taken care of, was just like listening through these. There's 3 total files of like just very long clips. So listening through and trying to match each one with each other so that we can properly edit them together was kind of a nightmare. But I'm glad that's over with. I would definitely do this again. I don't know where Adrian just went. I guess to check on the dog. But I would definitely do this again. I think it's something that we both want to do again in the future. We loved having the other string players with us and arranging our pieces that we played together so many times to play with other musicians was a whole lot of fun. I want to go ahead actually and say thank you to those people because we had ourselves. We had Lucas Reeder on bass, and he's been such a joy to have in our lives. We had Andrew Popham on drums, and then back on the strings we had Shannon Ward on violin. We had Leon Carlo Canlis on viola and Brianne Sargent on cello, and they all just did such a fantastic job. I would recommend them to anyone, and I hope that they will play with us again soon.
Cool.
Paige Bell says she thinks my violin page, that's not the right word. My violin face is gorgeous. Thank you, Paige. I appreciate that. I'm just going to add that to broadcast. Oh no, that's not what I meant to do. I thought I was just going to add it on YouTube or something. Well, if you have any questions for us, still feel free to drop them in here. We're going to do one more song. Yeah, leave them in the comments. We'll do Different Light. Is that good for you? Great.
It's trench warfare, 10 feet at a time. In a game that resets every night. Even though the battles feel the same, there's still no point in counting yesterdays. So I'll take the fall and pray for rain, just to test my soul again. Find the love I'm yet to reclaim. The horizon hasn't moved an inch, so with eyes closed I measure by the wind. I'm no faster even at a sprint. I just pray I'll never crawl again. Even though the battles feel the same, the light I cast is different every day. So make a way, I'm bearing down on love to reclaim the birthright of the sun. Till this flame is bled to skin and bone, and I curse the tombs that I called home. I'll take the fall and pray for rain, just to test my soul again. Miles behind, just steps ahead, till I'm shouting from my bed. My eyes closed, but I was never dead. Even though the battles feel the same, even if these stones never hold my name, even though my God lays cold again.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. I'm gonna check on Patreon and make sure we haven't gotten any questions there. But I think that might be it. I think that's our show.
So hopefully we'll be back next month to debut this coming month's song and word from Patreon. But until then, catch us at jointhelastcity.com. You can even just follow us on Patreon. We give weekly updates on the song, what's going on, that whole process. So yeah, feel free to check in.
Yep.
Love to hear from you.
Yeah. Stay curious.